بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وبعد. Inshallah, this is the penultimate, the second last lesson that we have in the Sharh of Adhkaar al-Sabah wal-Masa. And like we remind you every week, inshallah, if you can set some time aside in the morning and in the evening to recite these Adhkaar and to ponder over their meanings, Allah, your day is not the same without them, subhanAllah. Your day is not the same without them. So as the Prophet ﷺ said, the difference between the one who remembers Allah and the one who doesn't remember Allah is like the person who is alive and the person who is dead. So these adhkar are part of the remembrances that a Muslim should have in their daily, as part of their daily ibadat. Alright, this the second last one, like we said. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من قال حين يمسي 3 مرات أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق لم يضره حمة تلك الليلة. رواه الترمذي وهو صحيح. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever says 3 times in the evening, أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. I seek refuge in Allah, I seek refuge in the perfect words of Allah from the evil of what He has created. No sting shall harm him that night. Al-Humma, I think, Allah Alam, if Shaykh Abu Musab is here. Al-Humma, شو هي الحمى? الفيفر, صح؟ قلت ترى أنا هيك ظننت سبحان الله. In the tarjama it says sting. فلربما when the animal stings you, maybe it causes you a fever. Allah Alam. That's the closest. But Al-Humma is a fever. So you will not be affected by the Humma. And then in one of the narrators of the hadith, his name was Suhail ibn Abi Salih. He said, he mentions, this dua, he taught this dua to his family, and they used to say it every night. And he narrates one incident of a jariyah, a small girl, that one day she was stung by an insect, and to the extent that they said she didn't feel any pain. She didn't feel any pain. The strength of this dua. And in Sahih Muslim, this same dua, من نزل منزلا ثم قال أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق, that nothing will harm him. If he mentions this, if he alights in a place, these days the only place you alight maybe is a funduq or something, or a hotel. But if you go to somewhere, you sleep somewhere temporarily in a new place, or camping, or Allah Alam, anywhere camping, and you say this dua, then nothing will harm you. As in this narration is in Sahih Muslim. And it's said in that, as the hadith mentioned, remember we're following the order of Hisn al-Muslim. So the way that he structured it is the things that you say in the morning and the evening together. And then he only mentions the things that you say in the morning. And then he's now mentioning only the things that you say in the evening. So this is how he structured his Adhkaar al-Sabah wal-Masa. And the reason why you only say these in the morning, if you remember back to قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ Surah Al-Falaq, when we said it, and we mentioned the ayah وَمِن شَرِّ غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبْ. وَمِن شَرِّ غَاسِقٍ. Al-Ghasiq is the darkness of the night. The darkness of the night. إِذَا وَقَبْ, when it settles. Because when the darkness of the night settles, this is when the shayateen, the jinn of the ins and all the evil starts to become widespread. So nasaba, it becomes appropriate that you say this dua in the evening, because this is when the shar becomes muntashir, or spread out. So we'll quickly go through the alfaz, inshallah. It says a'udhu, and then we mentioned before, at-ta'awudh is you're seeking protection from the things that you fear and the things which you dislike, from the one who is able to protect you, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are some things which only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can protect you from. There are only some things that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can protect you from. مثلا الشيطان and al-jinn, and مثلا a lot of people, subhanAllah, in these days it's become widespread, people being possessed by jinn and whatnot, and they think that مثلا the jinn has overpowered them, and they forget مثلا that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that created the ins and the jinn. So keep your heart attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For there are some things that when you seek protection, you can only seek protection in them from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He's the only one that can protect you in them. And this strengthens مثلا the iman in the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because there are some things which are unanticipated. You cannot expect them. You cannot expect them. So you seek refuge in Allah from these things which only He knows about them. Because only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows ilm al-ghayb. فمثلا the sting of an insect مثلا, no one anticipates that they will ever be stung by an insect. So even if you take the most precautions you can, مثلا you wear thick socks and thick clothes and Allah alam, and maybe one day مثلا you're cleaning your garage and a redback spider bites you or something like this, Allah alam. This is all the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is all the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is why you're seeking protection in those things which only Allah can protect you, and from the unseen things which you do not know about. And Ibn Jibreen rahimahullah, the great scholar, Ibn Jibreen was the sheikh of Ibn Baz and Ibn Uthaymin. Ibn Jibreen was their sheikh rahimahumullah jami'an. And he said, whoever seeks refuge with their tongue, they just say that what they say on their tongue, a'udhu billah, and they don't contemplate the meaning of what ta'awudh is. They don't contemplate the meaning of ta'awudh. So when they say a'udhu billah, they don't understand it's just something on their lips. He said that this will not benefit them whatsoever. It will not benefit them whatsoever, because the khashya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the dependence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you needing the protection from Allah has gone from your heart. It's just become something that you utter on your lips. For this will not benefit you. And this, subhanAllah, nasallallahu salam wal afiyah, sometimes when we do these adhkaar, they become a bit routine, subhanAllah. But this is a reminder for me first, before it is a reminder for you. And he said the opposite of that also is true, that the one who seeks refuge in Allah and they think about what they are saying and they feel it in their heart that they need protection from Allah, then insha'Allah this ta'awudh will benefit them. Will benefit them. And Al-Imam Al-Qurtubi, the Sahib al-Tafsir, the one who wrote the great tafsir, Al-Imam Al-Qurtubi, he said, we know the truth of this hadith from the narration itself. We know it from the authenticity, that it's sahih, and we know the chain of narration. And we also know it from experience. He said, I never used to stop saying this dua. Every day I used to say it except one day. He said, I forgot. And this is maybe the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to overtake him. He said, I forgot to say it one day, and I was stung by a scorpion on that very day. And then I remembered that I had not recited this dua. Misdaqan. So this is the experience that he was talking about, and the authenticity and also the experience. Bikalimatillah, with the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this, as we said, shows the permissibility of seeking refuge in Allah and in the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you say, A'udhu billah, wa a'udhu bikalimatillah, wa a'udhu bi'azamatika, wa azamatillah. For all of these are you can seek refuge in Allah and in the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to what the Sunnah has guided us to. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words are of two types. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, kalimatillah, are of two types. The first one is al-kalimat al-kawniyya. Al-kalimat al-kawniyya, or the universal words, which He has the tadabbur of the mulk, the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which He uses to control the heavens and the earth. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّمَا قَوْلُنَا, verily our words, لِشَيْءٍ إِذَا أَرَدْنَاهُ, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes to decree something, إِنَّمَا قَوْلُنَا لِشَيْءٍ إِذَا أَرَدْنَاهُ أَن نَقُولَ, to say, kun fayakun. So this is the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is al-kawniyya. And the Shari'ah, the kalam al-Shari'ah, is the Qur'an. But this is the kalam. And as we said, the Qur'an is a subset of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words. And if you remember when we mentioned the dua, وَمِدَادَ كَلِمَاتِ سُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ وَبِحَمْدِهِ عَدَدَ خَلْقِهِ وَرِضَى نَفْسِهِ وَزِنَةَ عَرْشِهِ وَمِدَادَ كَلِمَاتِهِ. Midad kalimati, the extent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words. And we gave the ayah in the Quran, قُلْ لَوْ كَانَ الْبَحْرُ مِدَادًا لِكَلِمَاتِ رَبِّي لَنَفِدَ الْبَحْرُ قَبْلَ أَن تَنْفَدَ كَلِمَاتُ رَبِّي وَلَوْ جِئْنَا بِمِثْلِهِ مَدَدًا. The example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives, if the whole ocean was the ink which to write the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the whole ocean would disappear before the words of Allah would finish. Even if we would replenish the oceans again with another ocean, the words of Allah still would not finish. So the Quran is a subset of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're seeking refuge in the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is covering both His words, al-kawniyya and al-shar'iyya. Al-kawniyya and al-shar'iyya. بِكَلِمَاتِ اللَّهِ التَّامَّاتِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words are perfect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words are perfect. There's no deficiency in them. There's no mistake in His words subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hasha wa kalla. That there should be any mistakes in His words. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَتَمَّتْ كَلِمَةُ رَبِّكَ صِدْقًا وَعَدْلًا لَا مُبَدِّلَ لِكَلِمَاتِهِ. And the words of your Lord have been fulfilled with truth and justice. None can alter the words. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words are perfect. Perfection, befitting His Majesty subhanahu wa ta'ala. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. من شر ما خلق. So you're seeking refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. من شر ما خلق. From the evil of what He has created. From the evil of what He has created. يعني the creations which have evil in them, which contain evil in them. It doesn't mean that every creation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created has an element of evil in it. But this is, مثلا, the malaika, they do not have any, Allah created the malaika, they don't have any evil in them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the Prophet, and they do not have any evil in them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created al-Jannah, and He has no evil in it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, min sharri ma khalaq, yani the things which He has created, which have elements of evil in them. مثلا al-ins and al-jinn. There are evil ins and there are evil jinn. And from the animals that He has created, مثلا. The animals that He has created which harm the person, a snake and a scorpion and a ila akhirih. And mashallah, Australia has got the most poisonous snakes and the most poisonous spiders as well. Yes? So you seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from all. And even from the changes in the weather. Even the changes in the weather. A strong wind which comes. For many nations before this were destroyed by rihin sarsarin atiyah. That used to be continuous, a piercing cold wind that destroyed the people. But we seek refuge in Allah also from these. Min sharri ma khalaq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created all these evils. And even the evil that is contained in the hereafter. Yani the evil of Jahannam and the evil of having to stand in the mawqif and be in a position which is compromising to your akhirah. You're seeking refuge in both the dunya and in the akhirah. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. We'll just repeat the hadith very quickly. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من قال حين يمسي. Whoever says whenever they enter into the evening, ثلاث مرات, 3 times, أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق, لم يضره حمة تلك الليلة. No humma or no fever or no sting will affect him that night. رواه الترمذي وهو صحيح. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.